It's February 16th, 2019. Bob's on his way to meet up with the Andromedans. He's doing an out-of-body, and he's in space. And you see them over the Antarctic, right?
Yeah, the first time I've actually been there in a very long, excuse me, a very long time. I see Ylo. I'm actually, my soul's inside the Andromedan ship. He's in a very simple, Spartan almost type of room. White and off-white colors to what looks like rounded walls that I think are somewhat padded. They're not, not hard walls. He's sitting on some, I don't know if it's a bed or couch or what it's. I guess it's a couch is semi-rounded.
Okay, shortly Ylo should make the connection with Bob, and we should be talking.
Karan Ganosh.
Ylo, hi.
Hi there.
Is that your language?
Not. It's one of many languages within Andromeda, another term of greeting.
Oh yeah, so you guys have a lot of different languages, huh?
Of course, but then language is more of a aspect of music to us.
So you like having a lot of different languages. It could see in our world, different languages are, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, it's a hassle. You know, because they're not easy to learn. You know, at least the way our brains are wired. Especially if you're an adult. If you're a child, it's a lot easier to learn, but a different language. But for most people, not.
In some ways, we are childlike, you might say, but languages to us are more of a matter of intonation and music. So they're natural to us. Actually, your languages are too. Look how related they seem to be. And in fact, some of your people seem to think that there are different languages that have different sounds in them, and that's not true. They're the same sounds, simply arranged in different ways in different languages on Earth. And some of your languages have their origins in the stars. But that's a topic for another time.
In the stars, huh?
Yes.
Wow. Like what? Some of the Indian ones?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Well,
they're very...
depending on which variety of Indian.
When I said that, I meant like the North American Indian.
As well as the Hindu type.
Oh, really? There's two, huh? Let me, people don't usually ask this kind of thing, but since I thought I'd take a chance and somebody asked, one of our viewers asked me to ask you If you guys know Damian Schmidt from Wisconsin.
No.
Okay. Well, there's your shout out, Damian Schmidt. They don't know you. Must be somebody else who's picking you up. I hope it's friendly. I hope they're not hurting you.
Well, any contact we have will be one that will be helpful and definitely non-harmful to any of your kind.
What regarding you guys?
Of course.
Yeah. No, we get that.
We view Earth, and this is known, as our protectorate. And this has been challenged many times.
Uh-huh.
And now we have decided simply to, well, the human term is put our foot down. We've decided to make it known that
Well, thank
we will
goodness.
do what is necessary to help you to help yourselves.
Thank goodness someone has. And you know, you mentioned in the last conversation, just to tell you real quick, we always love getting confirmation about stuff. And I just watched a video from some of our viewers might know the name Benjamin Fulford. He has a weekly podcast, I guess you'd call it. And one of the last ones I listened to of his, he said that the good guys, he didn't say who, but he said the good guys were in process of taking down the black satellites. And that you guys said you were doing just that last week. So it's nice to get confirmation like that. That's great.
I think perhaps now I should be wearing a white cowboy hat. We have had help in doing this from some of your own governments.
Good.
So we're not alone on this.
Yeah.
We would not simply move in and just begin pushing our weight around. That's
well, of course not. No,
are.
you being here is empowering people. It's whenever somebody steps up like that, it empowers other people to do the same. So
we are here prior to an event that will take place. You might call it the Grand Enlightening.
And that's part of the sun business that we were talking about last time?
Yes, and as I've told you already, that it has been happening for a while.
Yes.
So this is not something brand new.
It's a gradual rollout.
It will build, and it will be conditioned in such a way. Let me put it this way. It is our intent that it will be conditioned in such a way that it will help you, and that it will not distort or harm the planet. It will not harm your DNA. In fact, it will enhance it.
Yes.
It may well repair some of it.
Yes. Cool.
But before this happens,
yeah,
there are conditions being set on your Earth to make this possible.
What kind of
How
conditions?
do I put this to you?
And who's setting the conditions?
First, let me explain something. You have two choices. You had two choices. And you've chosen wisely. The two choices were either the vaporizing of the surface of your Earth and the irradiating of levels even below it. That would have come from the sun.
Wow.
Or the second choice, a gentle bathing in a spiritual light that will do healing and upliftance.
Yeah.
While it may, well, it will cause a schism between Earth that you know now and here and a better Earth that exists in the same here.
Like an alternate timeline kind of thing?
Not so much, more of an alternate dimension.
Okay.
something of this nature happened a long time ago.
I mean, there's been a lot of books. Let me ask you this, because it's right on the same topic, and I know a lot of people would be thinking, like I'm thinking right now, is a lot of people have foretold that what we're coming into is a cleaving of the Earth in different dimensions. So that
Absolutely.
So that is to say, people that are of love and light in their heart are going to end up going into a higher dimensional Earth, and the people that are not are going to remain in a lower dimensional Earth, and the two will never meet again. They'll live in their own worlds of their making, so to speak. Is that the?
Those two dimensions will not meet again. However,
is that what you see happening?
yes.
Okay.
The souls who get to remain behind in a hell of their own making will, in time, have an opportunity to advance. One thing we know about the creator of all is that she never slams the door in the face of anyone. You will have an opportunity to gracefully inhabit a better Earth that will be of your creation because of the way you presently think. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be some disagreements. It does not mean there won't be differences. Of course there will be. But it means that you will have productive and healthy ways of resolving them.
Yeah.
And you will find what you call here a form of...
and there won't be such a high level of discomfort, right?
Just a minute. What you call here a form of mysticism or magic will be
in the air,
of a spiritual nature and a natural daily way of life, so to speak.
Things will come alive more.
Yes.
Like they used to be back in the day, as I understand it. People believed in elves and nature spirits and things.
We're still with you.
Well, as I understand it, a lot of them have left, or they stay in the countrysides, the remote parts of Earth, because we don't nurture them, in a word, anymore. Most people don't, because they're taught not to believe in them.
Well, you don't expect them.
Yeah.
All you have to do is expect them, and that's an invitation.
I know we have some around our yard, even though we live in the city. And sometimes they make themselves known. They like to one thing they like to do sometimes is play ding dong ditch.
You notice that there are many people in your world who, no matter how much you try to convince them, will believe in something like, flying saucers.
Yeah.
But that's because their minds don't have an opening for it. So to them, it's not real and never can be.
And I think they're afraid of the ridicule, from others.
Afraid of something that they're not capable of dealing with internally.
Yeah, that too.
But then there are people who are open-minded to the idea, and so therefore, to them, these phenomena happen.
Mm-hmm.
To those who are not open-minded, they may never see one because it's not part of their mindset. Unless something forces itself upon them. And for example, if an unidentified flying object hovers over their car and picks them up out of their car on a road trip somewhere, then they would be forced to believe.
Right.
But then they will also have to confront the mental illness that may come as a result of their not being able to process that. I wanted to take an opportunity here to explain a little more about atoms.
Good.
I told you the last time we met that at the center of every atom there is a black hole. There is. It is so extremely tiny, to use one of your terms, that even an electron microscope would have difficulty finding it. But it exists. Meanwhile, you have other forms of matter, similar to what you call dark matter, and other forms as well, keeping the various shells of an atom in place.
What'd you call it? Shelves?
The shells.
Oh, shells.
So, for example, if you have the center of an atom here, we'll say, and you have what is called the electron cloud, I believe your scientists call it.
Okay.
Why doesn't that collapse inward? And it's because you have other energy that's keeping it in its place at the same time that it's being pulled inward, so it doesn't leap off into space anywhere, and it doesn't get collapsed down into the black hole either. It stays where it's supposed to be. But you have to understand that every atom is simply a meeting of corners of wavefronts. And where the corners come together, it's geometry.
Yes.
Mystical geometry.
Sacred geometry, we call it.
Sacred, okay.
Yeah.
But where these corners come together, that's where the pressure comes together to build a tiny black hole.
Huh.
And then the wave around it, the waves moving through this constantly, which even the center is composed of, produce the shell that comes around the outside of the atom. But even that, the atom's not hollow. I don't like calling it bits of matter. I know that right now it's popular for your scientists to think that there are particulates. But the fact is, it's really not particulates. Particulates are where you have wavefronts connecting together to make what seems to be particulates.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know scientifically there's nothing solid about matter.
Well, of course not.
It's pure energy.
It's pure energy that's in a wave motion.
And the way I think of it in my head, and you can correct me if this is a wrong picture, but I think of it like it's energy that's moving so fast that it has the illusion of solidness. For instance, like way we make movies. Movies are a collection of individual pictures.
Yes.
And they move so fast, it makes it look like you're looking at real life.
Depending on the number of frames per second for your eyes.
Right. Well, yeah. So, for our eyes, the way our eyes work, they only have to go 26 frames per second, and we don't see it. But some birds, like I think some eagles, for instance, can see speeds of 50 frames per second. But anyway, so is that a correct kind of way of thinking of why everything that we have around us, whether it's a stone table or wooden bookshelf appears to be solid because this matter is moving so fast?
What you're basically seeing is the outer effect of geometric wave patterns that are coming together constantly. The waves constantly keep rippling and coming into contact with each other. And so you see, as a result of that, now understand, the entirety of creation is basically, well, you used a term of sacred geometry.
Yes.
And this patterns down to every subatomic, quote, particle, unquote, subatomic wave. And where those waves come together, that's the front.
Yeah.
You have weather fronts. You say a cool air mass is coming against a warm air mass, and where they meet is the front line. And action happens there.
Yes.
Well, that's the same when it comes to...
Okay, that's a good visual, sure.
So
Tesla was big on, I think the numbers 3, 6, and 9.
Yeah, because of their repetitiveness and that they form almost an eternal system. And
because they have a natural fulcrum, is that it?
Well...
kind of thing?
Think in terms of a triangle.
Right.
Now you can have a flat triangle like you would draw on a
Yeah.
piece of paper. It's
That's about the
two-dimensional
only
almost.
shape you're going to come up with, right? If you have three of something,
Well,
a
yes,
triangle shape.
yes. But then if you have multiples of threes, you can make any number of shapes.
Right, right.
Multiples of triangles put together can
Yeah.
make anything you can conceive and a lot of things you can't conceive yet.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do, but I know most of the drawing programs that used to be around, maybe still, would break images down into, triangles. Everything would be a type of a triangle.
That makes sense.
And let me just say for our viewers too, that aren't into physics, but I think is a very powerful and interesting thing to contemplate, is that the very physics and sense of structure that goes into the atom, the atom is nothing more, not that I'm detracting from it, but it's the same as in relationship to our solar system, which is the same as in relationship to our stars. So the distances that exist between, the vast distances in our, minds, if you will, that exist between the planets and the stars and what have you, those same distances exist in atoms. In terms of their own intrinsic size, the relationship of the nucleus and the protons and the things that are revolving around.
Well, again, you're getting into a false model.
Is that not true?
It's not true.
So the relationship is not the same. It's not the same as the relational distances of the solar system, for instance, and the planets and what have you.
In that sense, but not in the model you're describing.
Okay, how does my model fall short?
Don't think in terms of, how can I put this, of a ball in the middle of the atom with other balls moving around it, like a planet around a star or something.
Okay.
Even in space, you don't have pure space. You have particulates of all kinds, even through space itself. Space is loaded with hydrogen. And in many cases even helium, as well as dark matter and other forms of matter that you haven't learned to deal with yet.
Okay, let's get back to the...
What I'm saying is that the same is true when it comes to atoms. We're not talking about your grade school models of a styrofoam, is that correct? Styrofoam?
So there are no protons whizzing around a nucleus?
There's a cloud. There's a cloud of electrons. There are protons, but they're not whizzing around. They're closer to the nucleus. They're closer to the black hole in the nucleus.
But I mean, again, the relationship of the space at that size, isn't that the same? Isn't it true that it's the same as like the distance between the Earth and the Sun?
No. Oh, if you were in a spaceship that small, it might seem so, but then you'd be in a soup of,
So
well,
if you
to
were
use the
inside,
loose term, energy.
so if you were inside an atom, there wouldn't be any space per se, like we think of space. It would be more like an electric, plasma energy cloud kind of thing.
Yes.
And so there aren't any, it's not like one nucleus it's like there's almost an infinite number of protons moving around, anyone in a moment flashing in and out of existence, if you will.
Yeah, so waves go through.
Okay.
And
these atoms are interacting with other atoms in their midst, and they're sending out their own information, and they're passing on information, potentially at vast distances.
yes.
At an instant.
Yes.
Instantaneous. I mean, that you know, when you contemplate that, that is just, you know, that's freaking magical.
Spiritual.
Well, yeah, well.
Whenever you understand something, your term is science, but our term would be more of a matter of spiritual.
Well, for you,
Enlightened science.
I would imagine for evolved aliens that are, you know, as old as race as you, I would think that a very long time ago, probably, you came to a point where spirituality and science merged together. We're kind of at the beginnings of that right now.
And that's why we see so much hope for you.
You know, this is very important. Let me just go back real briefly to about the split that you're talking about, which is for those that have or have not. An author talks about this in several. He's got a series of books. The author's name is James Redfield, and I think the first book is called The 10th Insight. But he goes into, he has a story. It's a novel, but I think it's very well done, where he explains about this idea of the different dimensionalities, and it's how it's a mind set. How you know that there's going to come a time and place when you're going to notice that, for instance, people that wish you harm might be around you, and you could see them, but because you're vibrating in this new dimensional earth, they no longer can see you or put their hands on you.
Absolutely, and they can't influence you.
So how soon is that kind of thing going to happen? How far away from that are we?
You see, this is the thing that even we can't predict.
But I mean, it seems, okay, so the sun part, as we've been talking this time and last time, we're, you know, and you're trying to do what you can do with your technology to help ease us into this, you know, the energies coming from the sun, which are going to be very enlightening, even genetically helpful. But this deal about the splitting of the dimensions, I can't see how that can happen in a really gradual. It's either you know, at some point it's like you're going to realize it's happened, and then that's that, right?
I'm going to give you a timeline on this, and don't quote me.
Okay.
Of course, I'm being facetious.
Yes.
Within the next 2 to 8 years.
Okay.
Remember I said that your people had already made a choice?
Yes.
This is why this is so important. Your humanity has made a decision to get its house in order. At least those who actually have the, what's the Spanish term? Cojones.
I knew you were going to say that.
See? And that was instant.
I started to say that, but I thought, no, he'd never say that. That's kind of crass. That's funny.
So it makes you wonder which came first, chicken or the egg, or both at the same time.
Oh, maybe I gave you the idea.
Or maybe I gave it to you and we gave it to each other back and forth. But
energetic intercourse. How kinky.
I don't know that I'd quite put it that way, but
Well, I did. If
romance involved.
If humans have anything, they have an excellent sense of humor, if I might say so.
It's another reason we find you amazing. It's another reason we think you'll make it.
Well, thank you. Hey, humor has served me very well. You know, if you can't laugh at some of the shit that goes on, you know, I mean, you got to. You just have to. Some of it is just so ridiculously stupid. You know, the things that these. Sorry, what?
Good.
Can you tell us something juicy?
Yeah, there's a reason why one of our starships is over the Antarctic.
Okay.
I'm going to put this in a symbolic term, but it actually applies. There's a skin of evil there.
Uh-huh.
And we have people who are looking at that situation and deciding